And that flame almost ended the life of your nice manicured mustache. Pete, be more careful. I don't care. Fire is going to be the death of you. That's what's going to happen. Not firearms, not alcohol, fire. You're going to set yourself on fire if you're not careful. Anyways, I know you're more careful than you actually let it on. Um, I'm going to try to put my 2 cents in, but I'm probably going to be waffling a bit in regards to trying to give you a best perspective. As you probably remember, I was married for about 7 years and almost 10 months, almost 8 years. And things came to a halt when we were at odds over should we be staying where I live in Moncton, New Brunswick, or should we move back to where she came from, out of Merida, Yucatan, Mexico. My my circumstances are a lot different than most people for the simple fact that I fell in love with her while she was here for a student exchange, and I wanted to marry her. We've dated 6 times. Now, I'm not talking 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 years, 6 times. And I got to know the best side of her, and what I saw from her is what I really wanted in my life. It never crossed my mind at any point in time that I should be exploring the negative sides and trying to see what I don't like about her a little bit more clearly, or what might be a little bit more approachable in regards to living in conditions where we share our life. So we plunged in it, both of us, head over heels, and we worked our way backwards, trying to go through a getting to know situation after getting married, and working our way up to becoming like a couple and living to love each other, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, neither of us factored in the fact that since we don't know anything about each other really much apart from just what you could call the tip of the iceberg, we don't know the little nooks, crannies, crags, and chasms that exist in a person's personality, the foibles that make up that person, the good and bad side of it, the yin and yang, if you will, of everyone's personality. And things started to degrade quite fast. She was having a hard time accommodating. Now, granted, in my case, she didn't have a Canadian status yet. She wasn't a permanent resident. She had no rights to be able to work, so she was unemployed for almost a year. We were working steadily on getting that done, and after that, she started working and whatnot. But the living in situation for her was much more difficult because she had never lived outside of her country, outside of her home, due to the way the culture and the traditions were during that time, where if you're unmarried, you tend to live with your parents up until you marry, and then you're given leave by the family, and by the family I mean the family, not just your mom and dad, but the whole entire family, to actually do your life with somebody else, and then they good-naturedly try to have you make babies, have children, so on and so forth. Between you and Aunt, I haven't seen enough to be able to be entirely a good judge about the situation, but I do know a little bit from what you've presented since I've been one of the members of your channel. And I don't know if you went out with her long term before moving in. I'm assuming you possibly did. Right now, me and my wife, my ex, I should say, are currently going through separation. And I know with our separation contract, I have a clause in it that I want her to say yes to, which is that if we want to get back together, it's going to be a trial period of 3 months to see if we can. But if I do it again with her, I'm going to date, and I'm going to do it properly, and it's going to be long-term, long distance. It'll be based on what she wants, if she wants to go back into a relationship with me. But right now, I'm not interested in getting back into my relationship because I found myself becoming a better man without my wife. in my life because I don't fight anymore. Not that the fact I live alone I never fight with anyone. That's not the truth. You fight all day with people, or small arguments, friends, family members, usually on subject matter that really matters to you and that you want to take a stance on. Unfortunately, with me, it was becoming a fight on every single silly thing, and I just couldn't take it. I was eating myself out of my own health and packing on the pounds because I was stressed. I was eating my emotions, and so on and so forth. The only thing that I do know is that after going through some therapy with a reality therapist and going through certain aspects of negative and positive in a relationship that must exist all the time, I discovered that if I took my life and painted it in white and black squares on a big wall, 3/4 of it would be black with only 1/4 of it being white. And that pretty much sealed it shut for me, because it came to the point that we were becoming violent, verbally violent, and I was afraid of physical violence between me and her, and I didn't want that to happen. Neither did she. In your case, if you guys were fighting all the time, is it because neither of you had an independent lifestyle? I mean, you're working full time, you've got the business that you're taking care of, and you were doing YouTube as a pastime, and other things that I don't know that you enjoy doing. I don't know enough about Aunt's own personal choices in the matter in regards to, was she actually always at home taking care of the house? Was she actually somebody who had a job in Noosa or around the area so that she could take care of it? Were you guys always spending time together, or were you allowing each other to spend time with your friends and family without giving guilt or repercussions or punishments to each other for one or the other, abandoning one or the other? It shouldn't be termed abandonment. I discovered that empowerment on both sexes in the relationship, be it two males, two females, or male and female, is equally important than anything, where you're living your own life, sharing it with other people, but sharing it with yourselves. But you can't cut off anything that you were doing, because if you do that, it's a compromise, and the compromise isn't a win-win situation, it's a lose-lose situation. There should be no compromise in any relationships, except when you're taking decisions that need a compromise outside of your own personal lives to better the union of both people in the relationship in a positive fashion. Those are usually mostly economic decisions, investments, big purchases such as a house, vehicle, recreational goods, electronics, or anything else that can't be really bought without one. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. If it's going well right now between both of you and you're doing it long distance and you had 4 days of bliss, don't get back together yet. Continue doing it for as long as you can, or as long as you and I want to participate in it, and I recommend you to do it as long as you can, until you take the decision, both of you, that you're ready to come back into the relationship and live together. Maybe, and I do mean maybe it might be because you're living in a bigger house with other people sharing, and it becomes a strain on the relationship. I don't know enough about how it is with you and your cohabitants, roommates, if you will, because of the size of the house, versus how it affects your personal lives when you're trying to spend romantic time or intimate time with you and Aunt. I do know that it is a constant irritation, for the lack of a better word, on any relationship to live with other people in the bigger house, because you don't know how to anticipate how it's going to affect each member of the actual relationship. But anyways, as I said, I waffled, and I hope that's helpful. If you want to write me a PM, or if you want to get together and chat more about it, I'd be glad to do so. You know how to reach me. Have a nice one.